All right,
All
guys.
right.
So you've been
Well, all right. This is a video from Elevate to the Unknown. Why you should avoid a career in tech sales. In case you didn't know, I have been in tech sales and software sales, more specifically, for about 3 years. Um, this is a good video talking about some of the pitfalls that I think nobody talks about because it is a super hot career and people from all different industries are interested in it. I don't know if I'm going to make more content that's about such specific careers in the future, but I want to get into this one and kind of see how you guys react to it, and let's take a look.
all right. So you've been thinking about tech sales, the big checks, the remote work, the freedom that it comes with. But let me keep it real with you guys in this video. Tech sales might not be what you think it is. And in fact, it might not be the move for you at all. Now, I'm not saying that it is all bad, but before you jump in, let's break down the truth. And guys, welcome back to the channel where we're all about leveling up and climbing the ladder and getting to the next step in your career as well as in your life. Today, we're going to be diving into why tech sales may not be the best bet and what you need to really consider. And if you're here for that real talk, go ahead and hit that like button and that subscribe button. If you are new to our channel, make sure you hit the notification bell as well. Now, guys, let's talk about whatever.
By the way, this guy has worked as a programmer too, and then went into enterprise tech sales. So, by the way, there's you have SMB, mid market, and then enterprise, going from smallest to largest. SMB stands for small and medium sized businesses. Enterprise is really tough because a lot of the sales cycles or the time it takes to make a sale are longer, but it does pay the most. The sweet spot for me personally is mid market. I like mid market because you have faster sales cycles while also having those bigger paychecks at the same time.
Everyone is after in tech sales, and that is the money. We've all heard the stories about people pulling in six-figure paychecks with those commission checks, but I will be very clear to you guys. If you're not performing, those commissions can look like pennies, and people rarely talk about the months when you don't close a deal. I want you guys to think of it like this, like you are fishing. Sometimes you reel in a big catch, and other days you go home with nothing in your net. And if your base salary doesn't cover your bills while you are out there learning how to fish and learning how to improve, aka being in sales, it's going to get very uncomfortable, and it's going to get uncomfortable quick. I've even seen.
I don't know if he's about to talk about this, but like there is a large percentage of selling that is outside of your control. There was an excellent salesman that had been in software sales for years, and he used to always tell me, there's only two things you can control, your attitude and your activity. So when he would say those things, I mean, I'd really think about it, and it's true. The other things you can't control. You can't control if the owner of the business makes the product overpriced. You can't control if the pricing, I mean, sometimes you can control the pricing a little bit, but you can't control the pricing to that much of an extent. You can't control if the software is terrible or if the product is terrible. You can't control if there's supply chain issues. You can't control if the person that you're working with has a supplier of the product you're trying to sell that's a family member, and it doesn't matter if they're overpaying, they're always going to give the family member that business. There are things that you cannot control. The only thing you can do is just keep pushing. So, especially in an economy like this, a lot of jobs are not, they're not hitting the same numbers that they are. So subsequently, you're either getting fired or you're not meeting sales goals, or they're lowering the goals, but a lot of times they're not going to lower the goals for you because when you don't meet your quota, they get to pay you less. So, yeah, just is what it is.
Folks in tech sales thinking that it is easy money, and within 6 months to a year, they're scrambling because they didn't close enough deals to cover their basic living expenses. And if you are not ready for that kind of uncertainty, then you really need to think twice about tech sales. And look, if you are going to jump into tech sales, make sure that your base salary is enough to keep you stable while you are sharpening your skills. The money is there, but it's not going to flow like a waterfall from the first day that you enter. Now, guys, I am not going to sugarcoat this piece of it. The pressure of tech sales is real. I'm going to say it again. The pressure is real. And in tech sales, you are going to live or die by your quotas. Every single month, there is going to be a target that you need to hit. And if you don't hit it, not only does your paycheck suffer, your reputation could take a hit as well. And I want you all to think of it like sports. Imagine being a quarterback and missing a game-winning pass. You are judged on your performance each game, not just once. And in tech sales, it is the exact same way. One bad month doesn't mean that you are out of it. But if you're stacking and stacking and stacking multiple bad months, well, you're going to feel the pressure from your management team and your sales leaders. And trust me, not everyone can handle it. I'll put it like this. I've known people who thrive in tech sales because they love the pressure. Former athletes, competitive types, right? And if you got that competitive streak in you, then great. If you're someone who doesn't like feeling that constant heat, then this industry might chew you up and spit you out real quick. I mean, tech sales.
For me, it really doesn't bother me. If you show up every day, like I said, attitude and activity, and you do what you're supposed to do, I mean, there's really not that much else to it. And sales, there's an art to it, but it's really just about like showing up and doing what you're supposed to do, and it's pretty basic stuff, like when to ask the right questions and things like that. It's not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward.
It is high risk and high reward. That's the type of environment it is. You've got to ask yourself if you're ready to run on that treadmill every single day. And you have to do it every single day. Because if you start to slack, just like you will
this
get
is true,
when you get
it
back
does
on
feel
that
like
treadmill,
that.
well, in sales, if you start to slack, it's going to be very easy for you to fall off. Now, here's something that most people often overlook in tech sales: the constant evolution of technology. And what you're selling today may not even exist in the company in 6 months. And that means that you need to stay on top of your game, constantly learning new products, mastering new features, and adapting to the changes faster than your competitors are. When I think about tech sales, I think of it like trying to surf in a storm. You can catch one wave, and just when you think that you've got it all figured out, another one comes rolling in. And if you don't know how to ride that next wave, you are going under, crash out. So keeping up with changes can be exhausting in tech sales. And I'll give you guys a personal story. I remember a time when I had just mastered a product, feeling all good about it, thinking I could get on any call and pitch it to any customer. And boom, they released an update that completely changed how we position it to client. And man, I had to scramble and relearn everything and basically start fresh with new building blocks. And if that kind of constant shift isn't something that you can handle, then you are in for a rough ride. Now, if you love learning and adapting, then that is absolutely fantastic. But you must be honest with yourself. If you are someone who prefers stability and predictability, then tech sales will test your limits. Now, here's where things get interesting. Tech sales does offer you something that a lot of people don't get, but they do crave, and that is freedom. You get to manage your own schedule. You get to handle your own clients. And in many cases, you can work from anywhere. I'm talking about anywhere, from the vineyard, from the boat, in your car, from...
Working remotely in sales is so much better than having to be in a vehicle all the time. It gets dangerous after a while. You're stressed, you're distracted, you're doing nothing but driving. Shout out to truck drivers. I don't know how you do it. All you do is drive for a living in a much more difficult vehicle than that, but it gets dangerous being on the road all the time. And if you have the option of not having to be on the road all the time and being able to can't talk, make just as much money as them, I would highly recommend doing that. Just as much money or more money, because tech sales is usually, or software sales is usually better pay. I don't know why we call it tech sales. It maybe just has a nicer ring to it. It should be called software sales, whatever.
From Alaska, wherever you want to be, you can work just about from anywhere. I know it sounds perfect, right? But here's the reality. Freedom only works if you are disciplined. I've seen folks with all the freedom in the world, but they didn't have the self-discipline to manage their time. They let things slip. They missed deadlines. And guess what? They missed out on deals as well. And being your own boss sounds great until you realize that there is nobody to keep you accountable but yourself. It's kind of like being handed the keys to a brand new car. You've got to know how to drive it, or you're going to crash it into the guardrails. Now, this one is big. If you don't like to talk to people, then tech sales is probably the last place that you want to be. Every day you are building relationships, talking to clients, following up, and closing deals. And look, not everyone likes that. It is essential though. And I'll tell you like this, I've seen people jump into tech sales thinking that they can get away with just sending emails and handing things behind the scenes. But nah, that's not how it works. The best deals come from you building relationships with people over time. And I've worked with clients who stuck with me.
Yeah, this should just be obvious.
Trust together. And if you are not willing to invest in those relationships, you won't see the big wins. And it's kind of like, planting seeds. You got to nurture those relationships or you are not going to see the fruits. And
sales is all about relationships and trust.
You are going to hear no a lot in the tech sales space. I mean, a lot. Clients will ghost you, deals will fall through, and rejection is just part of the territory. And if you can't handle rejection, this isn't the place for you. And here's the thing.
It goes back to what I said again. You can control your activity. You can't control if somebody says no at the last minute. The only thing you can do is give them the best presentation you possibly can and then see what happens.
Every no is just one step closer to a yes. I mean, you got to have the mental toughness to push through whenever you get a no, because once you start racking up those wins, it's all going to be worth it. I'm telling you, with big paychecks. But can you handle the lows to get to the highs? Now let's talk about burnout in tech sales. It's real. There is such thing as burnout in tech sales because you are constantly hustling, you're constantly learning new products, and you're constantly juggling clients, and that can take a toll on your mental health. And if you don't pace yourself, you will burn out before you can even start to see the real success that you will have if you can stick with it. I've seen it happen time and time again. People hit the ground running, and within a year, they are completely burnt out. I've experienced it myself to the point where I stopped working out because I was constantly chasing the number, the money, the big checks were coming in. And I said, I didn't need to do any of that sort of stuff. And well, you know what? Your mental health suffers, your physique suffers. The key to making it a long career.
Are you kidding me? I mean, if I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, I mean, I'd still work out, but I'd probably reduce the frequency that I'm working out to once or twice a week. I mean, the thing is about a lot of the money in these sales jobs is like, you don't know how long they're going to last. Strike while the iron's hot and save your money. That applies to everything in life, especially things that are volatile, like entrepreneurship and sales.
Is knowing how to manage your time, take breaks, and to recharge. Those are very important. You have to play the long game. So is tech sales for you? Maybe not, but don't jump into it just because you've heard about the money or the freedom. Really weigh the pros and cons and reflect on your strengths and make sure that this is something that you can thrive in from a career perspective. If this video gave you some clarity, make sure that you hit the like button and let me know in the comments what's holding you back from tech sales. Let's talk about it in the comments section of this video. Check out my other videos on tech careers, remote jobs, and more.
Yeah, I don't think this is really a reason to avoid tech sales. If you get a good tech sales job, it's just totally worth it. But this guy's channel's awesome, so he's doing some good work educating folks. He's got a course here. Not that many comments here. Oh, not that many views. Wow. But, we'll see. I'm sure his stuff will blow up. Look at all this. A lot of courses and stuff like that in a different kind of space than what I normally do. Well, anyway, let me know what you guys think. I don't know. I think I might talk a little bit more about careers. I definitely will. I don't want to get too specific right off the bat. I want to kind of go broad to narrow right off the bat. I want to go broad to narrow, but I think it's a good start. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would say that this is really, again, a reason to avoid tech sales as a career. I think it's a great career, but you got to understand those pitfalls when you get into it. And finding a job is tough. It's not like being an engineer or a nurse or something, or a doctor, or even a specialized lawyer, or an IT professional, or an accountant. Like, all of these are skills, whereas like in tech sales, like, somebody can be a sociology major or a gender studies major or a biology major or anything, and you are competing with them. Some jobs, do want you to have more technology-based experience, but a lot of them really don't require much. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Let me know what you think, and we'll see. We'll do some more talking about careers. I think it's too important to avoid.